Hello, my name is Christina, and our group is presenting #EdukHour, which is a digital activism on education that supports the Sustainable Development Goal number 4. So let's start with the description of the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which was established in 2015. So the goal's mission statement is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. It also aims to ensure effective learning and acquisition of relevant knowledge, skills, and competencies. Education for all has always been part of the Sustainable Development Agenda, as it is seen as a force for sustainable development, nation building, and peace. There's also a growing international recognition of education for sustainable development, or ESD, as an integral element of quality education and a key enabler for sustainable development. And the role of education in ensuring sustainable development is not limited to developing regions, but the whole world at large. So SDG 4 has 7 targets and 3 means of actual application, which are measured by 12 indicators, where each target has 1 or more indicators to measure progress. So the 7 outcome targets are free primary and secondary education, equal access to quality pre-primary education, affordable technical, vocational, and higher education, increased number of people with relevant skills for financial success, elimination of all discrimination in education, universal literacy and numeracy, education for sustainable development, and global citizenship. And the 3 means of implementation targets are to build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools, to expand higher education scholarships for developing countries, and then to increase the supply of qualified teachers in developing countries. And that's all for the SDG 4. Thank you.
Magandang araw, Rosabella M. Quindosa here to discuss social issues related to SDG 4 and an overview of the EdukHour Digital Activism Initiative. A number of education concerns or lapses affect the achievement of these goals. Children and the youth, particularly from the most vulnerable and disadvantaged sectors, continually face learning challenges in the form of low education outcomes, out-of-school youth and dropout rates, learning poverty and deficits, difficulty in independent learning. In the Philippines, children's functional literacy level has remained at critical risk. Learning poverty is at 70%. Are worsened by unequal access to education infrastructure and opportunities, including facilities, technology, information system structure or infrastructure, gadgets, connectivity, and other resources for basic education, and adult or alternative learning opportunities. Parental engagement becomes difficult due to poor employment opportunities of parents, technological adjustments, weak adaptive capacities and guidance in the current learning environments. Socioeconomic issues such as health and nutritional status of children, early pregnancy or marriage, youth employment, financial concerns, and risks for child labor, domestic violence, and abuse further result in increased vulnerability to disrupted schooling and learning challenges. Environmental and other risks and crises lead to closing of educational facilities, changes in the learning schedule and modality, and other class disruptions. SDG 4 is crucially connected with all global goals, as quality education and lifelong learning is a potent driver of positive change through education's transformative power in fostering a sustainable and equitable world. Since education is carried out in a number of environments within the family, community, classrooms, schools, and learning centers, and within enabling policy and digital environments, a broad education stakeholders can then be engaged in various forms of support to education and lifelong learning opportunities through this digital activism initiative. We at the EdukHour target education stakeholders and the general public to engage in 1 hour of learning or sharing for learning. By taking 1 hour each time, learners and advocates alike can contribute to complement formal, informal, and non-formal education and lifelong learning opportunities, address learning deficits, and relevant targets under SDG 4. These will involve a range of strategies from harnessing social media for awareness raising, promotion and campaigns, and behavior changes. Digital app that will link various literacy contents from basic to technical, vocational, financial, media and information literacies, free online courses and learning materials and opportunities, to stakeholder engagements in linking volunteer, mentors, as well as government, non-government, community, and private sectors for sharing of learning materials, resources, local actions, and initiatives. We start from one EdukHour to link learners, learning resources, learning advocates and champions, and local actions, and engage in lifelong learning 1 hour at a time and counting.
So for the objectives of #EdukHour, we have to promote lifelong learning. That is to advocate for continuous education and skill building. Another objective is to encourage education initiatives, that is by collaborating with local communities and stakeholders to support educational programs. Next is empowering through education, and this is through the creation of an inclusive space that values knowledge sharing, learning, and education as tools for empowerment and productivity. Next is to promote equity by advocating for equal access to education, especially for marginalized groups and underserved areas. And then lastly, to encourage behavioral change where there can be shifting of societal attitudes towards valuing education. And since it is a digital activism, #EdukHour will be rolled out online through campaigns and different activities in social media platforms and its own portal. And that includes the development of an application that can be downloaded and used by community members or netizens for learning and knowledge sharing. Moving on to the framework. So an advocacy and social mobilization framework for education typically involves strategies to raise awareness, build partnerships, and engage communities to support educational goals. So the framework is composed of the following. First is goal setting, which is about defining clear objectives such as improving literacy rates. Next is stakeholder identification, where key stakeholders are identified, including decision and policymakers, educators, students, and the target communities. Next is advocacy strategies. So in the case of #EdukHour, it involves development of campaigns to influence policy changes or funding allocations. It also includes using data to highlight the importance of education. Next is using social mobilization, where community meetings and workshops are organized to engage the stakeholders. Some include training community leaders to advocate for educational initiatives. And then under the communication plan is the use of media channels to spread awareness and creation of culturally relevant materials to ensure inclusivity. Next, in monitoring and evaluation is the tracking of progress through surveys and feedback. It also includes adjustments to strategies based on the outcomes and challenges. So this advocacy strategy framework illustrates the advocacy strategy. It is organized around two main dimensions. The target audience is on the x-axis and the desired changes in the y-axis. So the main actors are the audience, and changes are the results that we want to progress towards the goal. And then the continuum of changes starts with basic awareness or knowledge. And then on the next point is target audience's willingness to take an action on an issue which goes beyond awareness. So will is the middle ground between awareness and action. And here we want to transform the increased awareness into action. And within this framework are the types of tactics and activities that can be used to achieve the goals and are organized as to where they fall on each dimension. For example, the type of audience who are likely to be reached, and how fast might they move from awareness to will and then to action. Looking at the lower left corner of the framework, the focus is to raise public awareness, and the tactic includes public awareness campaigns and surveys. So to use this framework, there are 6 questions that correspond to the steps. The first question, how is the strategy positioned, involves identification and illustration of how a strategy is positioned within the framework. So in this framework, we did the advocacy strategy mapping. So the shaded part illustrates how strategy positioning might work. So for example, the goal calls for an action-oriented strategy that mobilizes both the public and influencers to advocate with the decision makers and then inspire action. So the strategy calls for tactics that include community mobilization and partnership with other stakeholders together and generate the action needed. The next question, who specifically is the strategy trying to influence and how? So it refers to the target audience, and it is important because effective communication requires tailoring messages to audiences. Next, what are the underlying assumptions about how change happens? So this is about identifying the underlying assumptions and beliefs about how the ACSM process will unfold to achieve the goals. And assumptions can be based on social science theories, values, and processes. The next question, who else is working on this and how? So it is about others who are working on the same issue, which in our case is education. So in doing this, the strategy of this ACSM is put in context to show where and how it will add value and identify potential gaps or points of conflicts and how those will be addressed. And not only that, it can also help to identify points of synergy and the actions necessary to fill the gaps. Next question is, how will the strategy look in several years? So it is important in planning, especially on budget and resources, as an ACSM may involve several implementation phases and milestones to consider. And lastly, what interim outcomes are relevant to know if the strategy is on track? So interim outcomes signal important progress to be achieved along the way, and capturing them helps to check whether the program is on track or where adjustments are needed. And that's all for my part. Thank you very much.
So good day everyone. So today I will be presenting the detailed project timeline of our initiative, carefully mapped through a Gantt chart. So this schedule will guide our project execution across phases, ensuring we deliver on time and with impact. So the project is divided into 6 strategic phases. Each phase is broken down into specific tasks with targeted deliverables mapped across 4 quarters of the year. So let's walk through them one by one. So as you can see here, we begin with phase 1, which is planning and conceptualization. So this is scheduled in quarter 1. So key tasks include project ideation, defining the project scope, and identifying our target audience, and establishing clear goals and messaging. We will also hold stakeholder meetings to align with partner organizations, educators, and volunteers. And finally, we will gather essential resources such as online courses, free ebooks, and tools to support our content development later. Moving into phase 2, which is the development, also concentrated in quarter 1, we focus on building the foundation of our digital platform. So we will design a user-friendly and inclusive UI or UX, and develop the minimum viable product or the MVP of the app. So we will include ebooks, communication features, and donation modules. So alongside content creation for literacy and lifelong learning, resources will commence, while iterative beta testing will be conducted to refine the app experience. So in phase 3, which is the digital mobilization happening between quarter 1 and quarter 2, we shift between creating public awareness. So we'll plan and design a social media campaign, establish presence across Facebook, TikTok, X, which is formerly Twitter, and Instagram, and engage the public through thematic weekly posts and live sessions under our EdukHours initiative. So for the phase 4, which is promotion and rollout, which takes place fully in quarter 2. So here we will conduct the soft launch of our app, inviting early adopters and volunteers. We'll also roll out the mentoring and volunteer program to match learners with mentors and officially launch the hashtag EdukHour campaign to sustain public engagement. In phase 5, which is the community engagement, which will be running during quarter 2, we will host book donation drives and campaigns to collect used books and supplies. Additionally, we will begin gathering user feedback via surveys and App Store reviews, ensuring the app remains aligned with community needs. So finally, for the phase 6, monitoring and sustainability is set for quarter 3. So we will analyze app usage metrics and social engagement statistics. So based on these insights, we will strategically plan for sustainability and long-term partnerships. So ensuring that our efforts have a lasting impact beyond the initial project period. So our phased and structured approach ensures steady progress, continuous engagement, and sustainability. So each activity and task is carefully timed to maintain momentum and without overwhelming our team or our audience. So we are looking forward to collaborating with the team as we move from planning to impact. Thank you so much for listening.
Good day, everyone. Today, we proudly present the Monitoring and Evaluation Framework for 430 na, EdukHour na, an initiative designed to promote lifelong learning in the digital age. 430 na, EdukHour na is more than just a project. It's a movement. It unites technology, community action, and education to make lifelong learning accessible to all. Our goal is simple yet powerful: to empower learners of all ages to embrace continuous education as a way of life. Through targeted actions, we aim to raise awareness, widen access, deepen engagement, and ensure sustainability in all our programs. Our progress will be guided by specific, ambitious targets, each one bringing us closer to making lifelong learning a reality for more Filipinos. We will gather data from various sources, both digital and human, to ensure that we capture the real story of our impact. Monitoring is continuous. Every phase, from planning to sustainability, will be closely tracked to keep us aligned and accountable. Everyone has a role to play, from tech developers to our passionate volunteers, because building an education movement is a team effort. Through our midterm and final evaluations, we will check if we are meeting our dreams or if we need to adjust and sprint harder towards our goals. At the end of the day, this journey belongs to all of us. Let's keep learning, keep building, and keep dreaming together. Tara na! 4:30 na, EdukHour na!